Now, before we move on any further, let's just cut across to Goa, where Dr. S. Jaishankar is addressing the SCO meet. Let's just listen in.
Afghanistan remains at the center of our attention. Our efforts should be directed towards the welfare of the Afghan people. Our immediate priorities include providing humanitarian assistance, ensuring a truly inclusive and representative government, combating terrorism and drug trafficking, and preserving the rights of women, children, and minorities. India has always stood for multilateral approaches to addressing global challenges and has always been a willing partner in sharing our expertise and experience. In this regard, India's own achievement in the field of startups and innovation is a remarkable journey. Today, there are more than 70,000 startups in India, of which more than 100 are unicorns. We stand ready to share our experience with member states. Colleagues, in this context, I would like to express my gratitude to all of you for supporting India's proposal of creation of 2 new working groups on startups and innovation and on traditional medicines last year. I'm happy to note that the regulations to operationalize these working groups have been approved by member states. Excellencies, SCO is in its 3rd decade of existence, and this is an opportune time for its reform and modernization to keep the organization relevant in a rapidly transforming world. I'm pleased to note that the discussions on the issues of reform and modernization of the organization have already commenced. I assure you that India will extend its constructive and active support for this process. I also seek the support of member states for the long-standing demand of India to make English as the 3rd official language of the organization. This will enable a deeper engagement with English-speaking member states of the SCO and will take the work of this organization to a wider global audience. I'm happy to note that the progress on ongoing process for the admission of Iran and Belarus as full members of the SCO. I thank the Secretariat for their efforts in that direction. Similarly, I'm delighted that 4 new dialogue partners will sign the MOU for their association with SCO today in Goa. We welcome our new dialogue partners and hope to intensify engagement with them in the SCO format. Excellencies, India has proposed a New Delhi declaration as an SCO summit declaration and 4 other thematic joint statements on cooperation in de-radicalization strategies, promotion of millets, sustainable lifestyles to address climate change, and digital transformation. I seek your support in timely finalization of these documents for approval by our leaders at the SCO summit. I'm confident that today's meeting would lead to fruitful discussions which would help in sustaining the momentum of our cooperation. I once again wholeheartedly thank you all for your support for the first ever SCO presidency of India, and I sincerely hope that we can get together to make the SCO Heads of State Summit meeting a great success. Thank you. With that, may I now request our friends from the media to please leave the meeting hall so that the proceedings can thereafter continue.
And that was Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. You heard the comments there. Dr. S. Jaishankar addressing the SCO summit, the summit which is now about to begin. Foreign ministers of the SCO, they are right now, you can see on the screens, in Goa to discuss regional security matters, including adding Iran and Belarus to the grouping. Now, SCO is in its third decade to keep the organization in a rapidly transformed world. These were the comments by Dr. S. Jaishankar. He also mentioned that the menace of terrorism continues unabated and that there can be no justification of terrorism, including cross-border terrorism. Combating terrorism is one of the original mandates of the SCO. Now, for more on this, we have with us our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal, joining us live from Goa. Siddhant, thank you so much for joining us. What would you say were the key takeaways from the comments that we just heard from Dr. S. Jaishankar?
Well, here I'm standing at the SCO media room where, of course, the media personnel of all the SCO member countries are present. Now, EM Jaishankar's statement has just concluded, and the key focus areas were the issue of terrorism, Afghanistan, COVID crisis, and reform and modernization of the grouping. Let me start with the issue of terrorism. Now, a clear message is being sent on the issue of cross-border terrorism. In fact, the External Affairs Minister pointed that how the original mandates of the grouping have been in dealing with the issue of terrorism, and that, of course, is a message to one country, that's Pakistan. Now, when it comes to modernization of the grouping, the EM talked about the expansion of the grouping that has been a key priority. Today will be a significant day for the grouping, given 4 countries, that's Kuwait, UAE, Maldives and Myanmar, will become dialogue partners of the grouping, and they'll sign an MOU with the SCO Secretariat. And we will see in the Delhi summit that happens in July 3rd and 4th, Iran and Belarus will become full-fledged members. Afghanistan, of course, has been a key worry for the region. Many of the SCO countries border Afghanistan, and that is something that was mentioned by India. We know while there has been a change, we know Taliban regime is there since August of 2021, but India hasn't cut its ties with the people of Afghanistan. In fact, India is sending wheat to the Afghan people. Other key issues from the Indian side was, and one significant point was, make English a key language, third official language of the SCO grouping. Now, as of now, this grouping, which is dominated by Russia and China, has Russian and Chinese as one of the languages. But remember, there are countries like India and Pakistan who use English, and that will benefit them. And the grouping has been expanding at a rapid scale. So there are significant members who would like to speak in English as official documentation. So a strong pitch by New Delhi being made here at the Goa. So the significant meeting has started. Now, of course, in short while, there will be speeches by other member countries, including Pakistan, China and Russia, but those will be closed door.
Right, absolutely, Siddhant. But we also heard something about a New Delhi declaration. What can you tell us about that?
Well, New Delhi Declaration basically is a document that will be adopted in July when the summit happens on 3rd and 4th. That is why today's meeting is important. So the foreign ministers' meeting will be a preparatory meeting. 15 decisions will be taken. Many of them will not be made public as the day comes to a close. So these 15 decisions will be part of the Delhi Declaration. And essentially, whatever happens here in Goa as India forms consensus on global issues like counterterrorism and connectivity will feed into the summit, the leaders' summit that takes place in Delhi. And India is keen that when it comes to this grouping, India can play an important role in shaping the direction of the grouping. And under Indian presidency, the grouping also sees a major expansion. So the Delhi summit will see 2 important members, that's Iran and Belarus, sitting alongside other member countries to take part in the grouping's proceeding. The last major expansion of the grouping was in 2017, and this year we'll see another major expansion of 2 countries being added. So Delhi Declaration will be about modernization of this grouping, but also about key issues like counterterrorism and, of course, connectivity in the region that will be focus areas. In fact, India has been pitching when it comes to various meetings and proceedings that connectivity should be transparent, should respect sovereignty, and India has been pitching for Chabahar port, the India supported and built port in Iran for larger connectivity in the region, connects India with Iran and the Central Asian countries, many of which are members of this mega grouping.
Right, absolutely, Siddhant. Also talking about the 4 new dialogue partners, what can you tell us about their role in partnership with the SCO in Goa?
Well, Haim, as of now, this grouping has 14 dialogue partners. With these addition of these 4 countries, there will be a major expansion in the grouping. Now, we have seen when it comes to these groupings, SCO or BRICS, there has been a strong clamor by the global south to be part of this grouping. We know just recently in an interview, the Sherpa of the BRICS grouping, which is being led by South Africa, said that there are 20 countries who are keen to become part of BRICS. And SCO is no different. We have seen many West Asian countries keen to be part of this grouping. These groupings are symbolic of the new geopolitical order, an order in which we have seen that UN has been seen dysfunctional. India has been several times saying that there hasn't been any reform at the United Nations Security Council, and that is why these new groupings have seen countries being clamoring to be part of it, and that is why these 4 member countries are being added, and they can play an important role in groups proceeding.
Right, absolutely. Dr. S. Jaishankar also stressed on the remarkable journey of startups in India. That being said, what sort of cooperation can we see with other member states as well?
So under the Indian presidency, there are 2 subgroups being formed, one on millets and one on startup. Now, India has its own domestic programs like Startup India, which has seen increased traction, and India wants that to spread across the world, and using various platforms, including the SCO, to make sure that Indian expertise and experience can play an important and major role in spreading the culture of startup. Many of these Central Asian countries look towards India in terms of startup, in terms of IT. India is known as an IT superpower as well, and that is why we know that India has been focusing on startup and how India can provide experience in that. We know that the Indian startup industry is something that is seen as the next big thing. Of course, there are problems, as there are problems in other sectors as well. But India's emphasis is when it comes to global geopolitics, India can also play a vital role.
Right, Siddhant. Also, right before the summit address, we also saw Pakistan's Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari with greeting Dr. S. Jaishankar. Of course, this is the first meet by a Pakistani foreign minister since 2011. What can you tell us of the significance of this? Of course, we know that there are no other bilaterals that have been scheduled between India and Pakistan.
Well, undoubtedly, it's Pakistan that was also one of the key significant news points emerging from the G20 for the SCO foreign ministers meeting. India, of course, is also the chair of the G20. But talking about SCO, Pakistan is a member of the grouping, and as part of its multilateral commitments, the Pakistani foreign minister is present here in India. And as you pointed out, this visit is significant because it's after a long time a Pakistani foreign minister is present. But essentially, India has made it clear that cross-border terrorism remains a big worry for India, and the Indian External Affairs Minister also pointed that out in his statement during the foreign ministers meeting as well. So there will be no structured meeting. We also saw namaste diplomacy by the Indian side, the Indian External Affairs Minister doing namaste to all the foreign ministers, including the Pakistani foreign ministers. So no public handshake, even though there have been reports of handshake taking place yesterday night at the dinner. But as per protocol, the Indian side does that with all the ministers. So largely, yes, there is Pakistan present. Yes, that's a major news point. But there is no breakthrough expected in India-Pakistan relation here in Goa.
All right, Siddhant. Well, thank you so much for bringing us all the updates on this. On this, we will, of course, continue to track all the developments through the day. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.